Bet you thought you'd seen the last of me! The overwhelming sense of guilt I felt whenever someone new subscribed to my channel, presumably here for the Yuri on Ice series that I never actually finished despite promising several times to do so, was too much for me, so I am back after 4 years. We're finally going to talk about my favorite part of any costume ever. I am a sucker for glitz and glamour, and figure skating costumes provide both in sometimes alarming quantities. It seems like all of the costumes in Yuri on Ice are sparkly with a capital S. They catch the light and glitter as skaters move. Now, this is most commonly achieved with crystals. Swarovski is the gold standard when it comes to crystals, but for those of us who prefer not to bankrupt ourselves over costumes, Czech Preciosa crystals are comparable in quality, and in fact I have put a Swarovski and a Preciosa side by side and found no noticeable difference. 12SS is my preferred minimum size. I do like to use a variety of sizes, but anything smaller than that tends not to show up. If you want to know how many crystals you'll need, I'll link the very handy rhinestone calculator in the description. Crystals are sold by the gross, with 1 gross equaling 144 stones, so keep that in mind while purchasing them. You can get either 8 facets or 12. 12 is more sparkly, but 8 is usually significantly cheaper. Additionally, I like to find stones with an AB finish. AB stands for Aurora Borealis, and that means the stone has a special coating that reflects the light in a rainbow of colors and is extra sparkly. This means you don't have to match your stone as closely to your fabric color. However, Preciosa AB crystals come in a limited number of colors, so I like to mix AB and regular crystals for the ultimate sparkly yet color-matched effect. Now, flatback crystals come in 2 varieties, standard and hotfix. Hotfix crystals come with a special heat-activated adhesive on the back, so you use the special heat tool to apply them with, and you'll need a different tool for each size of stone. They go on a lot faster, but you have no flexibility in terms of the adhesive that you're using, and for that reason, I prefer standard crystals. Even if applying standard crystals takes more time, you have your choice in terms of what glue you're using. I like to poison myself with E6000, which is a flexible, clear, industrial strength adhesive, but people also like to use gem tack. No matter what your preferred poison, glue is, it's more versatile and you can adjust your adhesive choices based on your fabric. I store my crystals in Ziploc bags and put them face up in a dish when I'm working with them. I slide cardboard underneath the area that I'm crystalling in order to prevent glue seepage and squeeze a small amount of adhesive in a separate dish. I use a toothpick to apply it sparingly wherever I want to put crystals, and then I use this handy tool to pick up each crystal individually and place it where I would like, adjusting it with the back of the tool and or my fingers. Fingers are not recommended if you're using E6000. It's just a piece of plastic with a ball of wax on the end, so super easy to make your own rather than purchasing one, or you can just use a toothpick or tweezers. Then you just let your piece dry for 24 hours and move on to the next area. I like to let my costume dry for 72 hours before wearing it. This may be overkill, but better safe than sorry. Sequins and beading are another fantastic way of adding glitz to skating costumes. I'm a huge fan of beading because of how much texture it adds to fabric while still remaining super affordable. Just look at my ridiculous amethyst costume. Like crystals, the more facets your bead has, the more glittery it'll be, and they even sell beads with AB coatings. Swarovski AB bicones are my ultimate go-to because they're so sparkly and so brilliant, but it should be noted that because beads are not foiled the way crystals are, they will never be quite as sparkly as flatback crystals. Please note that when you're beading stretch fabric, you want to tie off larger beads separately and dab the knots with adhesive to make sure that they are extra secure. When it comes to smaller areas of beading, my personal standard is tying off every square inch. It is truly tragic when you have not left given your thread and your fabric is stretchy and you need it to stretch to wear it. So you put on your stretchy garment and then you realize you have made a horrible mistake as all of your beads fly everywhere. Sequins are also used frequently as they are dirt cheap. Far cheaper than even Joann's seed beads. I haven't seen flat sequins as commonly, but they're a great alternative, though I think cupped sequins tend to look more sparkly due to the facets. They come in a variety of colors, from gold to silver to fuchsia to opalescent, and under bright lights on stage, they are extravagantly sparkly. While they are a cost-effective alternative to crystals, I wouldn't suggest skipping the crystals entirely, rather using more limited quantities of both to get your desired effect. You can buy sequins as part of a pre-made trim if you don't like spending 40 hours in front of the television watching Muggy for the 6th time and wondering what your life has become. There are two ways I like to attach a sequin, either sewing over one or both sides with a single strand of unobtrusive thread. I usually go with a color match rather than clear because I hate clear thread and it's the worst. Another way is coming up through the center of the sequin, threading a bead onto your needle, and then coming right back down through the center of that sequin so the bead holds the sequin in place. Another fun layering option is putting a crystal in the middle of your sequin for maximum sparkle. Lastly, there are appliques. Now this is cheating a little bit because appliques are usually a combination of other techniques and are really more of a design element, but I make the rules. When it comes to appliques for skating costumes, I see a lot of pieces of heavy lace or other 3D embellishment that's tacked to the costume as a decorative rather than structural element. Many appliques do come pre-embellished, but if you like tormenting yourself, you can buy plain ones and just ply them with crystals and beads and embroidery and whatever else your heart desires. Large, hard, inflexible elements like the giant crystals on Yuri's Arrow's costume are not the most comfortable thing in the world to wear. I mean, I don't know how anime physics dealt with the ones on his hip and a sit spin, but they sure managed something. Accordingly, 3D embellishments on skating costumes are typically made of softer things like chiffon, organza, lace, or feathers, even leather or pleather. You really should match your thread color here since it might end up being visible if you're just attaching a pre-made applique, but as a huge fan of using black and white thread wherever possible so I don't have to buy any additional colors because thread is expensive, I say go for it. Just make your stitches extra small so they're not visible. Because stretch fabrics are typically made of polyester, you will want to use polyester thread. You always want to match your thread fiber to your fabric fiber. In the case of, say, cotton sewn with polyester thread, the polyester is much tougher than the cotton fibers and over time will degrade the fabric itself, leading to holes at the seams. The same is true of sewing polyester fabric with cotton thread. Over time, it's the thread that will give up and you'll end up with lovely holes in your seams. You also want to make sure that your thread is reasonably high quality. But if you, like me, are burdened with spools upon spools of uneven dried out cotton thread, a good way to salvage it is to use it for basting and covered in beeswax. However, you do not want to use it for any permanent stitches in your costume because those threads will lurk there and they will find a way to ruin your costume, like having it fall apart at the most inopportune moments. A note on sleeves. Appliques are tacked onto sleeves quite loosely because they are non-stretch elements and fitted sleeves need to stretch quite significantly. That's why when they're laid flat, applique sleeves look a little warped and weird, but when they're on an arm, they fit perfectly. A good way to do this is to put your costume on, pin the applique to your sleeve while you're wearing it, and then take your costume off and just tack where you pinned. I recommend at least 4 tacks for a large applique and double your thread for extra security. And I think that's it. I know this video is probably super outdated because I don't even know what I'm talking about. I wrote the script in 2016 and it's 2020 and my brain has melted and leaked out of my ears long since. But if by some miracle you enjoyed that, thank you for watching.